Yeah, we're doing school at home, but now home no longer feels safe. Okay, let's get a few things out of the way. This is not gonna be a K12 hate post. This is just gonna be a why it didn't work for us post, okay? If you like K12 and it's working for you, then that's great. I'm gonna be honest, I'm jealous because I wanted it to work for us so bad and it just didn't. And I didn't wanna keep forcing something that wasn't working. The thing about raising an autistic person is that you have to realize that when something's not working, you can't just keep pushing and pushing and forcing something to fit. It's gonna do more harm than good. Trying to figure out things that work, it's not spoiling your kid. The way I see it is that I am just nurturing my child's brain in the way that it functions. And I'm just doing my best. That's all I can do, okay? Don't read that deep into it. I didn't want to put her in public school where she would get lost in the crowd and her needs wouldn't be met. And because I have the privilege of being at home with her, I wanted to make sure that I was doing right by her. And even though she had a team that was trying their best virtually, she had an IEP, she had all of these things, a therapist set in place, we just couldn't make it work. So what I'm doing now is I'm getting all of her textbooks, everything, and I just have to repackage it. They sent me postage, so it's free postage, and I just drop it off at the post office to return it. Let's go into specifics. Day one of virtual school starting. So the kids were required to log on to do like orientation and stuff. So she virtually met all of her teachers. It's pretty much like a giant virtual Zoom call. You could see the teacher, and then you could see all of your classmates, and everybody has their mic turned on, and everybody has access to a keyboard. So there's already a lot of elements going on right there from the get-go. So Ello doesn't know where to put her attention to. Do I look at the teacher? Do I look at my friends' faces? Do I look at the chat box? Do I listen to what my classmates are saying in the microphone whenever the teacher's trying to talk? It's a mess. What ends up happening is she's getting overwhelmed. She's covering her ears. She is doing her stimming and she's rocking and she's overwhelmed. She is shut down. She is out of business. Come again tomorrow. So her teachers tried to do their best to adapt to this. We ended up coming to an agreement where instead of tuning into the live class sessions, she would go back and rewatch the recordings later on her own so that I could either fast forward through all of those messy bits or whatever, and then we could get the course material and she could be counted as present. Well, what ended up happening is she would have to watch 5 or 6 different 30-minute recordings to be counted as present, and then she would have a whole laundry list of assignments to do before the end of the day, or they would be counted as late. I don't know about you, but I never did well when I felt like I was being tested. It was draining, it was exhausting. And these K12 assignments, the way that they were set up, they're not very interactive, they're very plain and basic, multiple choice answers. There's not a whole lot of interacting that you can do. You're pretty much just like clicking through the slides and listening to a soundbite or watching a small little clip, and you just got to get through it and click all the answers. Because there were so many of those things, it got so monotonous that she was getting miserable. Now, before y'all come at me and say,
well, it's schoolwork, she has to do it.
Yeah, I get it, but like schoolwork every day felt like a test every single day. And she had to do a giant list of those things before the end of the day, then wake up and do it all over again. And what ended up happening is, yeah, we're doing school at home, but now home no longer feels safe. And that was a big problem. The whole entire reason why I wanted to do school from home was because this is her safe place. But then I had inadvertently made her safe place not feel safe anymore. I bring up all these concerns to her teachers. This method of learning is not for her. It's too overwhelming. It got so bad to where she didn't want to be in any other part of the house except for her room. Like she felt like she couldn't be in any part of the house because then she would feel forced to go back into that room and be stuck at a computer screen. She hated it. And when I thought I was doing right by her, it no longer felt right anymore. I feel really bad about that she feels like she can't be in the rest of her house. Like she just has to be in her room all the time. There wasn't really a solution that was working. So I ultimately made the decision to withdraw her. It just got too overwhelming. She would do multiple subjects a day, and before she had mastered the one thing, they were moving on to the next. I don't know if you know anything about how some autistic people learn, but they don't like to just bounce around. They like to focus on something, especially if they're really interested in it. They want to get deep into it and do all the things. And then if they're not interested in it and they're trying to learn it and they're trying to master it, sometimes they have to tunnel vision, and it can be hard and it can be frustrating, and they have to take their time. What I've started doing now for Ello is every day is one subject. At the end of that week, we reassess, we go over things, and we figure out, okay, do we need to just stick with this a little longer, or are we ready to move on? So that's what I'm doing now. This is not a failure. We tried it, we learned from it, and I'm gonna do right by her, whatever that looks like. This didn't fail because her teachers didn't care about her. We had ARD meetings, she had an IEP. If there is one thing that I'm so eternally grateful for with K12, is how quick and how adamant they were about getting an IEP in place for her before she even started school. They really, really did do as much as they could possibly do from a virtual standpoint. And for that, I am so, so thankful. But at the end, it didn't work. It just didn't work for us. And there's no shame in that. It doesn't mean we failed. We're just gonna keep trying until we find out what works for us. If you're a parent out there and you're looking for alternatives outside of public school, you're not alone. And no, you're not crazy for wanting that for your kid. And no, you're not spoiling them either. Don't take it from me. We're still on this journey. We're still trying to figure it out. If you want me to continue the series to see what I'm doing next, let me know. You're doing a good job.